Hello, and welcome to the next instalment of the Ascent Rugby Series. This time round, we are joined by Byron Schmidt, who is the head coach of Frankfurt, which hosts the first event, which we will be going to anyway. So obviously we'll be able to meet in person as well as virtually. But Frankfurt, really keen to get this one underway, obviously off the back of a great domestic season, a great event coming to Frankfurt as well. And Byron, really appreciate your time for joining us, mate, and being able to share the story of what Frankfurt have done this season and the Ascent Rugby expectations ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, and like I said, awesome work that you're doing, and looking forward to the chat.
Awesome. So Byron, first up, for those that aren't aware, obviously Frankfurt playing the domestic season, which is in the Bundesliga, which has had a couple of tweaks over the last couple of seasons. How's the season gone? Obviously, we know the result from the previous, but how's it built onto this setup for the Ascent Rugby Series?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, in the last couple of years, we've managed to be quite dominant in our local league. And actually, the whole concept of the Ascent Rugby Series was it was a little bit of my idea that I put forward to a guy named Nico a couple of months ago, and I was really desperate to look at options, because I feel like there's some really good players in Germany, and even within my own squad, and we're looking for opportunity to play at a higher level. And with our youth, we've got a very, very similar type of competition that we run with all the clubs that are participating: Boys Fort, the Dukes, Tatra. So I had some good connections in there, and I thought, let's try and that's been very successful. So I thought, well, let's try and copy that with the senior section. And obviously chatting to Nico, and then we just started refining the idea, and then a couple of guys like Henry and Felix jumped on board at a later stage and developed a bit of a brand around it and the naming, and done fantastic work. So we're really looking forward to get to your question, and obviously I think for the players, they're really excited to have a new competition or a new series where they can test themselves. So there's a lot of excitement, and we've been training pretty hard. We had about 3-4 weeks off, and then the guys did 2 weeks of individual sessions, and we started team sessions last week. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Nice. So obviously the Bundesliga starts the week after the second round of the Ascent Rugby Series, correct? So is this your pre-season? Because obviously we've interviewed Mitch from RC Emland, and he's basically said this is the pre-season as well, because it's quite a arduous, long season in Holland as well, which I'm sure in Germany, even with the winter break, but players going off to the national side, it's going to be a similar setup. Have you got other games, or is this literally Ascent Series, bang, straight into the Bundesliga?
Yeah, literally, this is it. I mean, we just didn't have time. The Bundesliga obviously finishes quite late, and then with a 3-4 week break, then you're basically into your. It's hardly even a preseason, and then we straight into this. So yeah, we'll see this. Even though you don't really want to treat it as preseason, you want to put value on these games, because it's something that's really important. I think if we can get a lot of buy-in from all the clubs and put on a good product, and everyone plays, not as if it's a preseason game, but puts their best teams on the field, I think it's got potential to do really, really well. So we're taking it pretty seriously, and obviously we're gonna try and win all the games that we can.
I think speaking of Mitch as well, I think every other club that's turning up, even though it's labelled as a festival, I don't think anyone's treating it as a festival. It's a proper high level setup, like to get ready for the seasons ahead, because as you say, it's quite arduous. If you've only got 2 games to get ready straight into the Bundesliga, it's going to be full in. So a lot of the lads have they come back fit from pre-season? Are they sort of ready to roll in, or have you got a bit of a changing of the guard going into this from last season?
We've managed have quite a lot of continuity within our squad. But I think we did testing and the guys look really fit. But obviously, I think time away from the game and just absolutely having that cut off in summer and people going with their friends and their families, I think is really important. It's probably even more important than staying fit, just having a mental break. And so we gave the guys a sufficient amount of time off. I think all the clubs, getting back onto what you said, all the clubs are going to be going hard to try and, see where they're at in relation to other clubs that are doing really well in their respective leagues.
Yeah, it's kind of a Champions League style, isn't it? We're obviously bringing Tatra across and obviously Pogon, and you've got some really, really top sides going toe to toe, and it's going to be littered with international experience as well, which allows it to stand out from other tournaments. What's the one, or the teams that you're going to be facing? What's the ones that you've probably got the most knowledge against, or the ones that you sort of they're going to be a bit of a surprise, or have you got previous experience against all of the clubs?
Emland, I'm not too sure about. We haven't played them since I've been at Frankfurt, but the Dukes we've got a really good relationship with since I've been at the club, which is 8 years. We've gone to the Dukes. They always hold this pre-season festival. So we played the Dukes a couple of times over the last few years. And the games have always been pretty tight and good games. I think we've had some positive results against them in the last couple of games. But just looking at how they've done the last 2 years, I think they're going to be really, really good. And I follow their social media, so you can see they're doing some really good things. So I'm excited for that one. But I think all the games, to be fair, Tatra we played, I think, in 2018 was the last time. So yeah, once again, I'm not very familiar with any of them, but I'm sure just looking at their results, and I think they're all going to be really competitive. And like you said, I think all the games will have a similar level of player, and that's what we're hoping for. Close games, good competition, and also a chance for players to, also that like amateur, get off the field, have a beer. Socialize, share ideas as coaches, just create a bit of community, which is obviously what the club game's all about.
Exactly. I asked this question to Mitch the day before when I interviewed him. I was like, have you managed, because obviously games are not always readily available on YouTube, etc. Do you have like a scouting network that you're able to put calls in, or like he's conveniently got somebody in Prague and was able to go and watch one of the Tatra games?
Yeah.
Like, have you managed any of that? Because this must be, as you said, working on previous experience from previous games. Clubs change. Like, whereas football, you'd have somebody go watch the game. There'd be somebody knows someone. There's enough data available. How do you prepare that as a coach? Because obviously, in rugby, we always say we've got to play our own game, but there's always a little bit of, you kind of want to know what you're coming up against, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be honest, we haven't looked at any of the other games. I keep an eye on the Dutch league, and I watched the final between, I think it was the Dukes versus Den Haag, I think.
Yeah.
And then Den Haag won, so I watched that game. So I've got a fair idea of what to expect from the Dutch league, and obviously their national team put our national team to the sword a couple of months ago. So. And I'm sure that's why I think this is such a cool opportunity. It's going to be great, and I think there's a huge gap in the market for something like this. And like you said, to put a few eyes on our sport in a region that has so much potential. I think it's overlooked. If you look at Germany, I think we've got about 18,000 rugby players only. So. And 84 million people, if we could capture some of the market, the football market, the kids that maybe aren't, that don't make it in football and they come over to rugby, that's what we're doing at Frankfurt, getting a lot of the guys that are maybe not cutting it in their local football club, they come across and try rugby. And I think there's a lot of growth there, honestly.
Completely agree. Like, I was at the game when when Spain played the Dutch over in Amsterdam at the start of the rec, and I was also there for the finals day, and obviously got good connections with the lot of the Dutch setup, and they've made good changes, as you said, and trying to develop, and obviously it's capturing the kids. Like, there's a different way that we've got to be able to capture that audience, because all you hear about the game that we all love is the doom and gloom. Somebody gets hurt, it's dangerous, all of this. We know that it's only dangerous if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
Like, anyone can you could do anything, any sport, and get seriously hurt. But the game we all love, it's the coaches that make it count. Kids turning up to make sure that they develop and learn the game properly. And being able to offer that opportunity for kids, as you said, from other sports that might not be able to cut it because they're physically not there, or they haven't got the aptitude or the awareness to play a quick brand of football. But rugby, you've got not always got much more time, but you've got a little bit more chance to make a group decision rather than having to be solely on one factor. How does Germany trying to stand out and change that, as you said, rather than obviously not just picking up kids from other sports? The social media aspect seems to be growing. Obviously, we know Paul really well over at Rugby in Germany, and there's definitely a change. Have you noticed that change within culture within Germany, or is it still a case of it's bubbling, but it's not quite got there yet? Obviously, being there for the last 8 years at Frankfurt.
Yeah, I think when I got to Frankfurt in 2017, I think German rugby, we were so close to just going over the edge in terms of like the Titans program was very successful. A lot of our kids wanted to be a part of that. So they had something to, the German national team was very competitive. Obviously went to the World Cup qualifiers, did really well, lost to Canada in a close game that maybe a couple of decisions could have gone either way. So that gave a lot of kids a bit of something to look up to, and I think we lost that a little bit, especially during COVID. I think a lot of the non-rugby playing nations, so to say, COVID probably hit us harder than more of the, like, for example, where I'm from, South Africa, kids are just naturally ingrained and will continue to play rugby regardless. But we lost a lot of kids during COVID at our club, and now we can see the uptake's positive, and we've actually got more numbers than we had pre-COVID. And then if I look at the general the interest in rugby around Germany, if I look at the youth competitions, they're becoming a lot more competitive. I mean, teams like TSV down in Heidelberg, in Berlin, they're putting a lot of investment, getting a lot of good people, a lot of good coaches involved. So you look at, I think if we can get the commercial side right in German rugby, and I think with our national team, with the new coach Poppy, and just getting a bit of continuity there, I think that will naturally filter down, because there's definitely talent. I mean, you can see it with Anton Segner. I remember coaching him in 2017, and he was exactly what we're saying. He was a guy that was playing soccer. Maybe it wasn't for him. He came over, he heard about rugby from a couple of Kiwi coaches that went and did some rugby in the school as an advertisement, and fast forward a couple of years, All Blacks under 20, Auckland Blues, and now All Blacks. So there's a lot of those. I think there's a lot of those type of kids in Germany. We just need to persist.
It's hard. It's that we have the same conversation. Like I coach over here. I coach the under 18s, under 16s, and stuff. And everyone says we've got to get into the schools, but you've also then got to try and let the schools do it. The schools have also got to be willing to let you do it. You've also have the facilities. You've got it's a great way of capturing kids, but it's also one of the hardest ways to try and break in and be able to showcase the game. Like, we managed to do. I had a team come across and do a little bit of a touring team over here in May, and we went to a local international school, and there was kids there with like, oh, well, why are we doing it? And then by the end of it, we couldn't get the balls off them. They were literally obsessed. So it was like, perfect. That's exactly the bits that we got to try and break down. But it's getting people to volunteer, because obviously there isn't the money in it to start with. And that's the commercial element of rugby. I asked Mike this as well when I had him on the pod, and he said about the program that you guys had set up originally, and then it all sort of disappearing, and then like the main sponsors pulled out, etc. Like for a country the size of Germany, as you said, but with like major brands like Mercedes,
Yeah,
etc.,
exactly.
etc. It's really crazy to like for even like a little bit for that to support the bigger pro. It's just how the package is bundled as well. Like rugby doesn't seem to bundle packages very well of how it helps with partners. And I think this is where Ascent Rugby as well is also being able to stand out and give that alternative package of actually we've got a bigger footprint. This is how we want to do it, and it makes it more appealing to brands. And I can't wait to see how much it grows because it seems to be like the Central Europe version of the Heineken Cup, etc., etc. It seems to be the one that plugs the gap between the Super Cup for that's separately created for like the Delta, etc., within Rugby Europe, and then all the teams that aren't allowed into the Challenge Cup, etc. So when you come up with that idea, was that the vision, or did you just think you sat there with a couple of beers and made a comment, and next thing you know, we're running with it, and we've got 7 teams, and we've got all of this events going on?
No, well, we were invited to participate or put in a bid for the Super Cup a couple of years ago. But when we looked at it as a club, and our president Uli Bugio, we looked through it, and we didn't see the potential upside just from an investment perspective, the travel. So we were looking. Then we parked the idea, and probably last year I started thinking really hard about how can we get something off the ground that is like-minded clubs, probably in a similar situation. And then I went to go watch one of our under-18 games against the Dukes, and I was like, geez, man, look, this game was unreal. It was probably equivalent to a South African under-18 game. And I thought, okay, well, let's try and get this off at the senior level. And like I said, luckily, guys like Nico and Henry and Felix being very proactive and have pretty much shaped the idea from what I initially had, and have run with it. And I think, honestly, like you said, there's so many commercial opportunities. It's just about one of the big businesses saying, hey, listen, we're willing to back you, and put in a little bit of finance and say, okay, yes, 3 years. And I think the return will be massive. I think the following will be massive. I think it's just we just need to get that over the line. Get a little bit of money where it can support the initiative, and So I'm hoping.
The product's there, as you said. The game is there. It's just getting it to the right table at the right time and getting it and it working. So Frankfurt, for those that haven't watched the Bundesliga or managed to watch any games, what is your ethos? What's the style of play? How would you set out your stall? What's the go-to for your rugby?
Well, I think we've got a little bit of a catchphrase, or you could call it an identity. I don't like all these cliches, but what we base our identity off of a phrase called Frankfurt flair. And I know a lot of clubs are going to, everyone wants to play a running brand of rugby. Who doesn't want to play a running brand?
Jouet, all that stuff, yeah.
But I think in Frankfurt, particularly, we obviously a very international city. We have people in our team, in our squad, from probably around about 13 different countries. So we're very, very international. And I think that lends itself to, sharing ideas and creativity and listening to one another. And so we'd like to think that we play with a bit of flair, and we're pragmatic in certain elements, but we also try and play with a lot of creativity and look for continuity where we can, and we try and instill that in our senior side, and then hopefully that trickles through into our youth teams, and it's been pretty successful. Obviously, there's times where you need to, like I said, be pragmatic. Defense needs to be good. But we back ourselves, and we back the person next to us, and we want to try to attractive brand, and try try to capture the kids when they come and watch us on a Saturday and say, oh, geez, that looks cool. That looks like we always use the analogy of like, why did you start playing rugby? You started playing, and how did you enjoy it? You probably fell in love playing touch rugby on the beach, or you started playing with your mates in the back garden. So that's what we try and instill. And so far it's done pretty well, and we hope that it continues.
Is that something that you brought to Frankfurt? Is that something that you started with, or did you have a completely different product when you first started and you've had to slowly develop that? How's that come around?
It's a good question. When I came in 2017, we were in a completely different space. We had a lot of emphasis on our youth program, which was, it was tough for the senior section of the club because a lot of our resources were all plugged into our junior section. But then after a few years, we knew that investment in our lower teams would ultimately pay dividends a couple of years later. And now we've got pretty much like 70% of our squad are local boys that have come through our own program. Where when we started, we were in 2017 when I came here, we just fought off relegation. So we almost got relegated in the last two. We just stayed above that. So we were, we just put in, and then obviously lucky enough that, it wasn't a good thing for German rugby, but it benefited Frankfurt when the Titans, a lot of their players were available and looking. And so we got Michael Popmeyer, Ray Parkinson, a lot of the guys came over to us. And Poppy and myself started, and we actually started just, with the fundamentals, solid defense, making sure that we're competitive. And within the first year, we won the league. And, then we've slowly but surely changed our ethos and look to be a little bit more creative in the way that we play, put it that way.
So for those that are going to be able to watch on Rugby Pass, any players that stand out that you'd say keep an eye on these, they're going to potentially set the world alight on Saturday coming up, or the games after, the players that you think will probably going to really stand out?
Yeah, I think a player that has done really well in the for Germany and for us over a couple of years has been our captain Leo Wolfe. He's a really good player. He's actually from South Africa, from the same school that I'm from. So I knew him from a schoolboy. And, when I heard he approached, him and his brother wanted to come over. So he's done really well for us. So he's somebody to watch. We've got a couple of old campaigners that have been around, like a Sebastian Rodwell as our 12, Edel Stella is our 15, and then we've got Sammy Mavinga, who played for various pro teams in France. And in the Premiership, I can't think of all the teams off the top of my head. So, he brings a lot of experience into our front row. And then guys like German guys that have played for Germany, Hassan Ryan and Jens Lissmann, are good players. We've got a young guy coming back, Anton Rupf, who's a phenomenal flanker, probably, in my opinion, the best flanker in Germany, but he hasn't been playing the last couple of years, so we're excited to get him back. So we've got like overall we've got a solid squad. But probably Leo Wolfe would be our go-to in terms of creating momentum and things like that.
I was there for the game against the Netherlands, and you could still hear him barking orders, trying to bring the lads together, and that must be crucial to have a leader like that within the setup that's obviously been there for a while, as you say, and trying to drag all the lads around it if it doesn't always go the same way that you expect on the plan, because obviously, as we all know, like, rugby doesn't always go the way you want to go, and that must be crucial for you as a coach to have a player like that available for your setup.
100%. I mean, we've got a good leadership team. We had one guy just retire now, unfortunately, Mossel Hen. But we've got some guys there that's like Ollie Payne, like guys that have been playing the game for many years and have played at the higher level. It's not only Leo, but Leo's a phenomenal leader and he leads the group really well.
Awesome. So obviously you've got the Frankfurt event. What else is planned at the event? What else, if it turns up, they buy a ticket, they've got 3 games of rugby. Is there much set up as well? Is there kids friendly? How's the event running? Do
Yeah,
you know?
so we're trying to really create a club day, a community day. We're going to have our youth teams playing. So before the first game, we'll have our under 12s will play. And then between the games, we're going to try and get our minis to play maybe 10 to 12 minutes before each game, just to create a bit of continuity throughout the whole day. And ultimately, we're looking after the game to get everybody together for a cold beer and just enjoy, exchange a few chats. And, often you find that you make mates from these events more than you do, anywhere else. Rugby mates tend to stick for life. And so hopefully it's not only about the rugby, it's also about the community off the field. And hopefully there's a little Anton Segner that comes down and watches the games on Saturday and gets inspired to carry on with rugby and hopefully be a Springbok one day. Not at all.
Yeah, that's it. When's the probably the likely the youth game starting?
So
what time do that?
1 o'clock. So just before the first.
Okay.
It's the games are 2, 4, and 6. We'll also be showing the rugby's greatest rivalry in the clubhouse, so people won't have to miss that. So they can pretty much watch the first 60 minutes of that, or definitely the first half, and they can pop down and keep an eye on that. So hopefully just a full rugby day. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. I'll be flying in on the Friday night and then there all day and then fly back home on the Sunday morning. So look forward to being able to sit and have a chat and grab a beer with yourself as well.
100%. So. Yeah, don't get stuck in Sachsenhausen on the Friday night. Otherwise, you might not make the game.
Nah, you're all right. I'm doing co-coms on Rugby Pass, so I've got to be able to keep my voice in sorted at least, so I can chat about everything that we've spoken about here.
Awesome. So. No, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be cool. And let's hope that then obviously the following weekend's the Dukes, and then hopefully this just springboards and grows into something that it should be a really good series.
Yeah, I can't wait. Byron, really appreciate your time, mate. And obviously, for those that haven't got your tickets, head over to ascentrugby.com. Go buy your tickets. If you're in Frankfurt, just turn up, come and watch it. It's going to be one hell of an event. Some great sides going toe-to-toe. And as you said, we get to watch a little bit of mini youth. We get to watch the other youth system and just a day full of rugby. I can't wait for it to start with. And Byron, really appreciate your time. For anyone that's still on the fence, what do you tell them? Just
get down, come watch. Like I said, I think it's going to be very competitive games. I think the atmosphere will be good, and ultimately bring your families down. It should be good weather, and I'm pretty sure you're in for a treat.
Awesome. So obviously we've now managed to catch up with the Frankfurt coach. We're also going to get to talk with Neil Otto, and hopefully we're even going to manage to get somebody over from Pogon as well. So this little mini-series isn't dead. We started with RC Emland. We've now managed to get Frankfurt, and we've also got the Dukes coming on to the next episode. So we will keep you going, and this will all be ahead of ready for next weekend's Frankfurt event. We can't wait. If you haven't got your tickets, go get them. And if you're not able to attend, get onto Rugby Pass and you can listen to my boring voice for 6 hours or so when we've got 3 games. So, Byron, really appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for joining us. And for everyone else, make sure you jump onto Rugby TTL and obviously onto the Ascent Rugby Series to make sure you get all of the information of the upcoming events. Thank you and goodbye.